Hello, and welcome to my Unit 4. This is my Unit 4 reflection video, and it will be sweet and simple, but I did find this EI self-assessment very intriguing. It's a good self-awareness or mindfulness exercise that I could use for myself as a a regular check-in, a quarterly check-in of how I'm feeling, what's going on, what areas do I need to improve. And I can also share this with my colleagues and also my future clients. So I did really enjoy this reflection video. So for my assessment, I did really well on all of the categories, and I loved how this 15-point scoreboard, it represented areas of opportunity or your greatest strengths. I like how this was very positive and there was no right or wrong answers. You couldn't score or you couldn't answer in a wrong way, or there's no rationale for why you may be low in an area. It just says a need for or an area for greatest opportunity. So even that wording, when you're explaining to people or patients, or when you're teaching or evaluating, I like the wording of this assessment because it does not give you a feeling of, oh, I missed the mark or I didn't do something right. It's just giving you some reflection on what's going on the inside so that you can always be self-aware and you can always identify the things that you may struggle with from maybe some past experiences that you may not even have known that these things may be affecting some of these subcategories or some of these areas. So I like the techniques to improve. So the greatest strengths for me on my assessment, I had a tie between empathy and motivation. So those were a 14 for me, which is really good because the highest you could get was a 15. And this made sense because I practiced psychotherapy, many psychotherapy sessions with some of my clients as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. And I can just see how the motivation and the empathy would be high. The areas that I showed strength in were the self-awareness, self-regulation. So those were the areas that I showed areas of strength. So I did not have a bad assessment, and I like I said before, I like the wording on these assessments because I did great on all of the areas. I had some greatest strengths. So I developed a plan of how I would increase the areas that I scored the lowest in, which were surprisingly self-regulation. And it says to identify emotional triggers. And when you feel out of control, take deep breaths and acknowledge the emotions and investigate the cause. So I did say to myself as a pretest on what I would think I would score low in before going into the exam. And I thought I would score low with self-awareness, but I did pretty well on that. Self-regulation was a little lower. And it says to acknowledge emotions and investigate the cause. And so what I would like to do as a plan to improve is to investigate why I feel triggered or why I feel the way that I feel, and understand that it's not personal. Let it go. It's not that personal. It's not for me to internalize. So if you go into situations with that approach, I think that it could increase your awareness of your emotions and what's triggering those emotions. and how to effectively understand what you're feeling at all times, which is very important. So I want to just quickly address the principles, which principle is a priority. I did state I really feel like self-regulation is because it was one of my low areas, and because that's very important, because a lot of people, in the work environment or just in life in general, a lot of people don't have a good self-regulation, or they project their feelings onto others. And so it's good to be aware yourself. Some challenges I have experienced with understanding or recognizing EA and people that you work with is just simply understanding that everybody does not have high emotional intelligence. Addressing the challenge is looking within, in my opinion. And I read several emotional intelligence systematic reviews, and also some good nursing leadership and emotional intelligence, understanding that everyone has different experiences, are from different cultural backgrounds, so you may not have the same level of emotional intelligence, but always just be aware and check in with yourself. Because the problem is not with other people and how they react, but it is more so of how you respond. And that's how you can conquer any challenges with emotional intelligence. Thank you so much.